Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Transform with MG podcast, where we'll talk all things transforming your health, body, and mindset. I'm your host, Martina Gutt, and today's discussion is going to be centered all around navigating the festive period guilt-free and without feeling like you're sabotaging your progress towards your health, your fitness, and the habits that you have built so far. So we're in the first week of December, and I can't exactly say that I'm feeling very festive. The only Christmassy thing that we have is this green matcha. By the way, it is very earthy, and I mean, I did ask for it. I was like, can you please make it strong? Because I did want some caffeine cake, but I also had a coffee this morning and I'm still like feeling the effects of it as such. So I was like, if I'm going to drink another coffee, I'm just going to be all jittery and I'm probably going to have more anxiety than energy. So we got ourselves a matcha, and I think you either love or hate matcha. Like there's no in between. Like you either think it tastes like grass or earth, or you're like, this is actually nice, you know? I am a fan of green tea, so I think this is why I'm a fan of matcha as well. Let's take a little sip. But yeah, I'd say this is the only Christmassy thing that I have, and we are in the first week of December, so it feels a little strange to be like wearing barely any clothes and sweating my balls. But the fact that I'm going back to Ireland in just a week is making me beyond excited. And don't get me wrong, I will forever be a summer baby. Like, give me a hot climate over cold any freaking day, okay? But there's something about Christmas that makes me want to be in the cold, like wrapped up in front of a fire, drinking a hot chocolate, walking around the Christmas markets, seeing all the decorations and lights. I was sitting in a cafe the other day and they started playing Christmas songs, and I literally was wearing a bikini top and I was like, this just not, that does not feel right. So yeah, and I'm also excited to just buy myself like nice and fluffy PJs. I haven't bought myself new PJs in like 7 months, I'd say. So you know where the first stop is going to be. You know where the best PJs are. So I am excited, and obviously like this time of the year, although I like love traveling, love the sun and whatnot, like during this time of the year, I do want to be just like surrounded with my like close friends and family. And I can hands on my heart say that all I'm looking forward to is the joyful and eventful time, all the yummy food, the mulled wine, the Baileys over ice, the hot chocolates, all the yummy food and treats, and just really celebrating it with like my friends and family. And that is because I now have the tools and strategies to be able to like navigate through this period without like the guilt, without the shame, without like feeling that I'm just like ruining on my progress or restricting myself. But it hasn't always been like this. Christmas used to come with a lot of anxiety for me and an inconvenience, to be honest, because it would be a period of time that I'd viewed as I would just have to put up with the fact that I'm going to gain weight and sabotage like any physique or fitness goals that I had. So anytime like December would come around, I would have to start mentally preparing myself for the amount of like discipline and willpower I will need to have in order to stick to like my routine. I would make this time of the year so much harder for myself because I used to approach it in such an unhealthy way. I would often like slash my calories starting from like the first week of December in order to account for the socials and going out that were to come leading up to Christmas. I would often skip breakfast because that would mean it would allow me to overeat in the evenings, and it would give me that flexibility to eat as much as I could. I increase my activity levels, increase my steps, started doing more cardio in order to like earn food. And then in turn, I would also use exercise as a way to burn enough calories. If, for example, I went out one night and then we ended up getting a takeaway, I would be in the gym the next day trying to burn that off, or totally restrict my food because I was trying to like undo all the quote unquote damage that I made. And I would almost always beat myself up for eating or drinking more than I intended. And to be honest, from the start of December, I would already be planning my diet and exercise regime come January, because it was always the anticipation of like surely I cannot enjoy this time of the year without like ruining the progress that I have made. So might as well already start accounting for it in like 4 weeks time. Doesn't really make sense, but it was definitely the mindset that I was in. So as you can probably tell, I just gave myself so much hardship rather than being present and actually being able to enjoy being in the moment. And that's because I just lacked the understanding on how to approach it. And I had such a black and white view of fitness in general. Like I always thought in the extremes, it's either one or the other. Either I'm 100% on plan or I'm completely throwing it in the towel. So that was kind of my view of fitness in general, and that was only amplified come December time. Having health and fitness related goals should add to your life, should enhance your life, should make your life better. But it was doing the totally opposite thing for me, especially around like the festive period. And this is exactly why I'm recording this podcast. I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. And I want to share with you some tips and tricks that have helped me be able to head into the festive period, into December, with a lot more ease and reassurance that everything is going to be fine, on how to like navigate all this extra socials and nights out and temptations and food without feeling like you're completely restricting yourself or feeling guilty for perhaps including some treats and indulgences, yet still feeling good in your body and that you're not actually sabotaging the good habits, and you can stay on top of the like routines and habits that you've built so far, so that you're entering January 1st with like a good mindset and a good place. Before I begin, I do want to point out that whatever way you want to approach this festive season, it's your choice. I'm fully aware that there's going to be 101 PTs telling you how to navigate this festive season, and yes, I am one of them, but there's going to be a lot of advice on what to do and what not to do this Christmas. But ultimately, whatever way you want to head into December and whatever way you want to approach it, it is your decision. If you decide to take the whole month of December off and chill the fuck out and do nothing about like your health and fitness goals, then that's fine. Nobody should be judging you. Just like you shouldn't be judging somebody that decides to be really strict with their goals and perhaps track every single calorie, perhaps train every single day, perhaps do not drink, perhaps say no to the chocolate and the treats. And just like somebody shouldn't be judging you or whoever else that decides to prioritize some downtime, reduced activity, more treats, more nights out, more alcohol, whatever it is. It all comes down to your values. And like I mentioned, there's just no right or wrong, because if this is what you value at the moment, if, for example, you're valuing quality time with friends and family and all the socials and outgoings that come with it, and you do want to prioritize that, that is fine. But if you're listening to this, I have a strong feeling that you do care about your health and fitness goals. And while you want to be able to enjoy this festive period and include treats, be able to go out and spend quality time with friends and family, you do not want all your hard work in terms of building a good routine and habits to go out the window. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. If you decide to press the fuck it button for the whole month of December, then I don't think you can expect to be healthy, happy, and sexy come January. I really wouldn't bank on that. But it is ultimately, I am not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. I am just here to give you some tips and advice on how you can do both, that you can find the balance this December and not have to feel that you have to put yourself into confined boxes of whether you're 100% on plan and being strict, restrictive, and then feeling like you're missing out on the fun, or that you're completely going AWOL and not sticking to the plan whatsoever and can't maintain any exercise, and any good nutrition habits that you build are going out the window. You do not have to put yourself in any of those two boxes. Those tools that you can apply, which I apply right now to my life, which is why I'm just super confident going into this festive season, knowing that like I will have absolutely the time of my life and not have to go on a super restrictive plan come January 1st. I'm not putting off any health and fitness goals that I have, because you do not have to wait to get started, but I'm also being realistic with myself on what I can achieve, which I'm going to get into in some of the tips. But anyway, let's get going with some things that you can do to navigate this festive season without feeling guilty, yet staying on top of your health and fitness goals and the routines and habits that you've built so far. So my first tip is going to be more of like a mental thing, and I don't know who needs to hear this, okay? I suppose myself or my older self, but it is okay to say no. So obviously Christmas comes with a lot of events and occasions, between Christmas parties to seeing friends to going around to all family members. There is just a lot going on, and it can feel very overwhelming. And also, yeah, you can call yourself like lucky and be grateful for the fact that you have all those people there that want to spend time with you. But like, being realistic, it can feel overwhelming. And if you're a people pleaser, which I can be, I definitely used to be more of a people pleaser than I am now. I definitely value my time a lot more nowadays, and I'm more comfortable with saying no. But I know it's easier said than done, and oftentimes we agree to a lot of stuff that kind of take away from time we have with ourselves, which is very important. And we're almost just like running from one thing to the other without being fully present. It can really take away from stuff that like makes us happy and healthy if we're just constantly saying yes to everybody. So I guess I'm just your reminder that it is perfectly fine to say no, and you don't have to attend every single thing that's going on this Christmas, and you can just say that you're not available, you have other plans, or simply that you're just needing some time for yourself. Tip number 2 is to stop banking calories leading up to Christmas. I know it is very tempting to eat as little as possible leading up to all the festives, because you already know that there's going to be extra food involved, maybe extra alcohol, and you're thinking that if you just cut your calories low now and you just restrict yourself now for the next like week or two, then that will allow room for like overeating and all the social things. Well, I am here to tell you, do not do that. It's only going to backfire. It's only going to lead to irrational hunger, cravings, overeating when you actually get to go to that event or a meal or whatnot, because your hunger is just going to be building up over time. You're going to be depriving yourself of so much that when you finally get to sit down and eat that thing, you won't be able to control your hunger around it. You're going to be so deprived of energy. You're going to be feeling fatigued. You're going to be feeling irritated. You're going to be moody. All these symptoms that come with not properly fueling yourself. So how can you be happy and thriving if you're going to be in deprivation mode for 2 weeks leading up to all these events? You have higher chances of binging, overeating, and then feeling guilty and restrictive. And honestly, this like binge restriction guilt cycle will be ongoing for throughout like the whole like festive and Christmas period until January, where you decide to go on your diet again. So I'm telling you now, stop trying to bank calories for Christmas and focus on just structure within your day. Keep it simple. Opt for 3 meals, protein at every meal, fruit or veg at every meal, and have a structure where you're eating every 3 to 4 hours, because that way you're keeping your hunger at bay. You're also regulating your blood sugar levels, and you're ensuring that you have the energy needed to complete like everyday tasks. So girlies, or whoever is listening to this, we are not banking calories for Christmas. Tip number 3 is to be realistic with what you can achieve. So I'm not going to tell you that you have to wait until January to start working on your health and fitness goals. That's absolutely not the case. But you also got to be realistic with how much time you actually have and your current schedule. It's already a busy time of the year between all the socials that are going on, trying to get things organized, wrapping up like end of the year at work. If you're working in places like retail, it's obviously crazy. If you're working in like finance, it is the end of the year. Everything is just ramped up. Stress levels are higher, or schedules are more busier. Trying to start 100 new habits in December might not be really realistic. Can you lose 10 pounds in December? I mean, maybe if you decide to eat like a 5-year-old and again feel miserable in the process of it all, but I wouldn't really recommend it. To be honest, the best approach I found around this time of the year is just to stick to the habits that you already know and pick 4 or 5 things that are like non-negotiables for you that you can still stick to, and maybe look at it as a month of maintaining, or even the 2 weeks around Christmas as like cruise weeks where you're happy to just stay where you were and maintain the habits, the routine, the physique that you've achieved, because that will allow you to like enjoy the festive period and have a little bit more flexibility and put less pressure on yourself. Because if you don't put the pressure on yourself to maintain every single thing or like progress at 10x speed, then you're not going to be feeling guilty about it. You're just going to be absolutely fine with the fact that results might not be as quick during this time, but it also allows you to just have that freedom and I suppose just a slower approach to your health and fitness goals. So I wouldn't be picking up 100 new habits. I wouldn't even be picking much. If you want to pick a habit, pick one habit and stick to it for 2 weeks and see how you're getting on. If you're absolutely fucking smashing it, great, add on another one. Everyone's just going to be different, and it all comes down to what you want to prioritize at the end of the day. But speaking from my previous experience and from what I've seen in clients and what seems to work the best is trying to maintain the habits that you've built so far. So exercising regularly, eating balanced, protein and nutrient dense foods 80% of the time. And you know, I always say to clients, in terms of their nutrition, they should aim for like an 80-20 rule where 80% of their diet consists of like whole, minimally processed, nutrient-dense foods, and then their 20% is things like treats or maybe foods that like feed the soul as such. They're for enjoyment rather than to like optimize health and fitness. When it comes to December, I would say that will probably be looking more like 70-30, which is absolutely fine because you're still striving for that balance. Remember, if you eat like crap, you're gonna feel like crap. So if you decide to completely indulge in really, I suppose, like high fat, like highly palatable, like all this like yummy food that you think of around Christmas all the time, you're probably not going to be feeling your best. But if you do aim for that balance where you're not like completely restricting yourself from it, but also fueling your body with the right nutrients, you're going to be feeling good, you're going to be energetic, and that way you're not going to be deprived, but also you're going to be feeling your best essentially. But just be realistic what you can achieve in during this time and the amount of time that we have, which is essentially like 3 weeks until the year is over. And it just might be a good idea to pick 4 or 5 habits and stick to them rather than trying to pile on a whole lot of new habits that you haven't been doing. And if you haven't been able to be consistent with a habit before December, I don't think that it's the wise idea to try and force yourself to be consistent with it throughout December. Okay, my 4th tip is to bounce right back. Right, I think we can all agree that there has been at least one time during our lifetime that we had the best intentions to be really good with our nutrition when we head out, maybe limit ourselves to the amount of drink, and that just doesn't go to plan. We end up eating more or drinking more than we intended. Look, we're all humans at the end of the day, and things like this are going to happen. And the worst thing that you can do is actually dwell on it. You cannot change the past. So what can you actually do? You can only influence how the present and the future is going to look like in terms of your choices. Put a line across it straight away and move on. If it happened, it happened. Like, it's never the singular occasion in itself that actually leads to like negative consequences of outcomes, but it's your response to it. And if you dwell on it, that guilt is only going to eat you up, and it's going to lead to actions which are not conducive with the way you want to feel. So instead of beating yourself up for eating more, drinking more, put a line across it straight away, reflect on it, maybe why that happened, and then see what you can do right away from today in order to just like get back on track, quote unquote. I actually hate that word because I don't think you're ever really off track. You're literally just a human being, and sometimes we eat more simply because we either needed more fuel in the tank, or it's like environmental factors, where we are and who we're surrounded with. And the last tip that I want to give you is to remain active. Look, activity shouldn't be viewed as a chore, and I can guarantee you that moving your body is going to make you feel 100 times better, especially if your days are going to include more food. It's going to help you with your digestion. It's going to help increase energy levels. A lot of the times we don't take action because we're looking for the motivation. Like, we're sitting there feeling a bit sluggish, tired, and being like, I actually just don't have the energy to get out and go for that walk or do that gym session. Whereas we cannot be listening to those like voices in our heads, because when we actually go and do the action, that will create motivation. So getting out for the walk is actually what's going to give you more energy. Driving down and doing that session is what's going to release the feel-good hormones, the endorphins. Like, that's what's going to help you feel good. It's not going to be sitting on the couch and waiting for that feeling to come, and because it's not going to arrive. And I understand with more busier schedule, whether that's in personal or work life, it might not be realistic to perhaps continue doing like 5 gym sessions that maybe you're doing already for 1 hour. And going back to point number 3, where I said you just need to be realistic with what you can achieve. So it might not be realistic to continue with 5 workouts, but what can you do? Like, can you go to the gym 3 times per week instead? Can you do home workouts instead? If it's not possible for you to drive to the gym, if like your commute is like 1 hour there and 1 hour back, which is like a lot of the time that you have to allocate to the gym, and you might not have that time at the moment, that's fine. Like, can you substitute that to home workouts? And then let's not forget about the like unplanned movement, or maybe the movement that isn't per se training, but things like parking further away, taking the stairs. And I know this is such a like simple thing, but you'd be surprised how many people don't actually take the stairs. We are wired to take the path of least resistance. If there is an escalator or an elevator, we are almost guaranteed to go for the easier option than to take the stairs. So just become the person who always takes the stairs and get that into your head. But like, go out for walks if you can. Like, if you're meeting somebody for like a coffee, just suggest that you're just going to go for like a walk around the Christmas markets, around the park, or wherever, like in your local area, instead of sitting down in a coffee shop. Just add in movement when you can, because it's gonna help you feel better. And I don't even want you to think of exercise as a way of like you're gonna be burning more calories or that it's a chore, but think of it as a way that it's gonna enhance like your energy and mood levels. So these are essentially my 6 top tips on how I would navigate the festive period. the way I would approach it without actually feeling guilty and without sabotaging like my good habits, health, and routine that I have been working on for the last while. Take what you need. I just hope that like if you are listening and you're feeling a little overwhelmed and anxious around this Christmas, like there is no need to be. But I also understand why you are having those feelings, because that was me for a number of Christmases in a row. And it's so easy to say, you just shouldn't worry about it. But if you don't have the strategies and tools on how to actually navigate through it, then it's really hard to be able to get out of that negative headspace. So I really hope that these tips, or even one of these tips that I've mentioned, helps you to just be able to enjoy this time of the year, knowing that it's not going to be taken away from the progress that you have made. And there is absolutely no need to be approaching January with these super restrictive New Year resolutions. And one last thing that I want to point out is just to be aware of what choices other people decide to make, because not everyone understands our goals and not everyone has the same values and again, same goals. Some people have a very complex relationship with food. I believe we all have a complex relationship with food, and it's really easy to look at the choices other people make when it comes to food, when it comes to decisions around food, and be slightly judgmental. But whatever they want to do, whatever you want to do, just keep it to yourself and approach it with whatever way you like it. As I mentioned, you can take the whole month of December and chill the fuck out and eat what you want, drink what you want, or you can just have a more balanced approach where you're still including some nutrients, but equally you're allowing yourself a treat here and there. Everyone is just on their own journey, on their own path of like feeling and looking their best. So just avoid making any comments. And if you do find other people making a remark of your choices, just know it's a prediction of their insecurities and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. So just don't take it personally. Agree to disagree or allow them to say the comment, and you don't have to take it too hard, because I know it can be a difficult time, especially when you're surrounded around family and maybe the older generation might not really understand that you have some goals that you're working towards, and that might come with some compromises that you're trying to make. And there's going to be perhaps some pressure from the society, from your peers, and again, from the family members on how you should be eating or like the actions you should be taking, your behavior or whatnot. So that is all from me for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I just want to say how grateful I am for your support on this podcast. It's something that I would never be able to do without like all the love that I'm getting from you and this community. And I hope that you do enjoy it, and it would mean the world to me if you could support it by sharing this podcast. And obviously, like the more shares it has, the more like subscribers it has, the more podcasts I'd be able to put out. And I want to say that I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas and really enjoy this festive season. And I shall see you in the next episode.